All right, everybody. I had a very busy day on all of the stories that are in the description. Some of you, I didn't see anybody usually from the channel. Some of you might have seen that I did go on Tree of Logic's secondary channel and described the Farrakhan feminism issue, and we'll talk about that. It wasn't exactly, I'd say that it's hard to really it's hard to assess what was accomplished with it, but I'm still glad that I got probably about 45 minutes to just yak about Farrakhan feminism. And those people that think that that was a waste of time, we'll see about that. Other issues that have been happening today are mainly concerned with, of course, the Zuckerberg hearings on Capitol Hill with the Senate. It was a very long day, and a lot of that was a waste of time. But a lot of people did watch it, and I think that's an interesting parallel that I described something on the tree stream that is blatantly obvious, and people were telling me, well, that doesn't really matter because nobody's going to care. If you watch those Facebook hearings, and I know that it had immense exposure. Most of those senators weren't saying anything important. And I think that, towards a little later in this stream, I'm going to go into some of the issues that I think were very central to that were a little ignored. So, yeah, that was a great, well, I wouldn't say it was a great 3 hours that I was watching it, but it was very illuminating about Zuckerberg and his character and just he's one of the most bizarre people in corporate America. Let's see who's here today. Jimmy Ross. Today has been very problematic. Who's the show? Wasn't there a stupid show on Comedy Central called Problematic? Other issues more relevant to New York City. So if you remember, it probably will be in the description too. Yeah, if you look under bold features, if you look in the description, I'll show you real quick. There's my story concerning NYCHA. Okay, and that is over, let me see my cursor. So I did a story about NYCHA and how it was being distracted from in the New York governor's race and generally in New York City politics. Those of you that don't know yet, NYCHA is the New York City Housing Administration. 600,000 residents, only 400,000 of them on the official books, according to I think it was the New York Daily News. And today, wouldn't you know it, but let me see if I'll go there. Their CEO resigned. The CEO of, or I guess it was the chairman of NYCHA, who's appointed by Mayor de Blasio. She resigned, and they've been calling for her head for months for lying about lead paint inspections. And I'm not confident that Mayor de Blasio will do the right thing, but it does give him an opportunity to maybe move in a different direction. Do you think? But it did happen, and it was bound to happen. And the fact that this isn't national, or at least very very well-known news beyond New York, it does show that yes, as many people are apt to point out, when important failures of the social welfare system happen, they don't get the proper attention. They don't get the proper attention because people do believe that public housing is absolutely essential. That you can't threaten it. You can't that, and they perceive any change as a threat. And that's something that I talked about in that article. And I didn't talk about it for weeks on end. I mean, granted, I have been focusing on Farrakhan feminism, but in the midst of my Farrakhan feminism articles, I did write the article about this, and I did talk about it. I did send it to a few people, but people don't care. People don't care about talking about NYCHA or any other public housing crisis in the country. And with that, I'll have to agree with some of the trolls that were on the tree stream. Yeah, a lot of people don't care about these issues. That's why you do have to at least document them, talk about them, try to expose them. Because if you don't, yeah, of course you're going to have 600,000 people living in squalid conditions in New York City with no heat during the winter. That's due to public housing. That's due to the social welfare system of New York City and the neglect. And if they have a way to fix it without going through what I was talking about, fine, so be it. But it is a problem. So then after that, let's get into the essence of the Tree of Logic stream. So I think it was yesterday I did tag Tree on one of her streams and asked her if she believed in Farrakhan feminism. And I've been doing that, and I recognize that it's probably annoying to some people, but I'll go on people's streams and I'll ask them if they. I did it to Bunty King yesterday, and I love Bunty King's channel just like I love Tree of Logic's channel, and the way that I expose my stories is that I'll usually try to tease it, and I do it to Lionel Nation a lot. I'll try to tease it in the comments, okay? And some people might find that obnoxious and annoying, and I don't give a fuck, because for me the story is important. You can fucking hate me all you want, and I feed off of that. That's the whole point. The trolls that were listening to me tonight, they were saying words like filibuster, and they were saying words like you can't get to the point, and then they were saying elaborate. Well, how can I elaborate if you're telling me not to filibuster? And what I do respect from Tree was that she did say, yes, call me, talk about it, lay it out, and I think that it would be unfair of me to say that she didn't give me the opportunity, and I took the opportunity for everything that I could get. And that's why I put out a stream before that where I basically said, well, this is my goal tonight. It is to expose the story. And I hope some of you did go and take a look at the stream. I didn't see many of you in the comments. And I recognize that might have been because of the short notice on your part. And the fact is that not everybody has the time in the day to go out and represent and kind of help me get the message out. But there's links in the description. You can share any of those stories, and it would be a great help in exposing those stories. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of my articles or the ones on the Hard News Network, which I write for, and I do ask them to help me to get my story out. And that to me is the important thing. The fact that people think that I'm an asshole because I go on a stream and talk about the same thing for 45 minutes. I don't give a fuck. The mission accomplished, buddy. And the people who are listening, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they were saying that this was the essence of it. Okay. For those of you that did not get to watch the stream, it is not really uploaded on YouTube yet, but I did put Tree of Logic's second channel in the chat, and please click on it. And if you would like, please subscribe to her channel, because I'm subscribed to her channel, and I'm subscribed to her channel because I like the way she does talk shit to people. Even though I have a certain different theme to my channel, I enjoy the theme to her channel at certain times of the day. And I enjoy the troll, and I was enjoying the troll tonight after my call, and the people didn't understand that I feed off of that. So essentially, she gave me, Jimmy Ross, I hope you're a new person because I've never seen you before, but thank you for tuning in, and I hope you do check out the topics I'm talking about with Farrakhan feminism, and share them as well. The issue that I was talking about is the fact that the Louis Farrakhan controversy with the Women's March exploded last month for the wrong reason. And Tree of Logic, I believe she did know what I was talking about, but she was too stubborn to admit that that was the real point. Okay, she was trying to make the point that if you argue with progressives and liberals about bigotry and sexism within their own camps, that they're not going to listen. They're basically opaque, and it's impossible to reason with them. And that was the basic gist of it. There were 2 points on her side, one of which I would say she has a great point, and one of which I think I'd have to argue with a lot. Okay, and pay attention. So the first point is that social media companies, if you try to spread a message that is insurgent against their narrative, they will try to squash it and they'll ban you. And that's true. It's demonstrably true. It's true based on the Facebook hearings today. And Tree of Logic is 100% right on that. And it's largely due to that effort on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube. I think she's banned on Twitter entirely. That yeah, she's probably understandably jaded, and she's justified in being so. Very justified. And that's one of the key reasons that, you know, I have been talking about alt tech. She's been talking about alt tech. A lot of you guys have been talking about alt tech. Arjun, you would probably be talking about alt tech too. Are you on Gab? If you're not on Gab, please hop on Gab and we'll talk. Steam it. All of those, we have to start, we have to stop kind of whining about Facebook and Twitter because we're kind of using the ship while it's going down. And it is going down in many respects. Yes, it could be that Facebook and Twitter will survive, but they will no longer be the paragons of you know, interpersonal communication that they were established to be in years past, because they shot themselves in the foot and they adopted attitudes that were directly in conflict with their trajectory of success. So sorry if it sounded a little. Basically, they shot themselves in the foot. That's exactly what I just said. They adopted a business model that was successful at first, connecting people, and then they've done everything possible to contradict that model. Simply put, okay. And Tree of Logic is a casualty on Twitter, at least, of that ridiculous attitude that they have now. You know, they banned Milo too. They've banned other people. They banned Tommy. You know, I'm not telling these people like Tree of Logic to be happy with that situation, and I'm not telling them to go and you know, just accept that everybody's going to understand what I'm talking about. I'm not telling people that Farrakhan feminism is so obvious that you know, people will just be retarded not to understand it. No, I said to her quite clearly on the broadcast several times on the live stream that yeah, there's going to be a lot of people within the Women's March movement and within the progressive and liberal movement who, yeah, of course they're not going to listen to you because yes, Tree of Logic, they would call you a race traitor. Yes, me, they would call me, you know, a heartless capitalist. Those are things that they'd say to me, and they've already been said, and they're said by the same people every time. And then there are other people that are receptive, and you're being, in my opinion, they're being unfair by assuming that every single person who has a positive opinion on the Women's March would be just rejecting this message. Because, frankly, if you go on their forums, just go onto Twitter right now, if you're watching and you have a Twitter account, you can go to the Women's March account, and you'll basically see them melting down. And this is without what I'm talking about. This is without spreading Farrakhan feminism. It's already, you know, they're ripe for a massive failure. Okay, they're ripe for basically a colossal just meltdown. That's all I can talk about. That the Women's March is still in existence. It's only a testament to the fact that the people at the top still have the funding and they still have the ear of corporate America and the corporate media to spread their bogus message. You know, now does that mean there's people that this is because people have rejected their message? No, the reason is because of fatigue. It's because people are tired of you know, there's another march this month. What are we marching for this time? We're marching for saggy boobies. We're marching for, you know, women who women who stutter. You know, every time it's something different. The March for Science, the March for, you know, the March for the fucking polar bears, whatever it is. Every time it's something different. People are tired. At the same time, there's divisions that are developing within. You know, there's so many people within the Women's March that are starting to realize that this intersectionalism isn't a real thing. This intersectionalism is kind of bullshit, because it really, it eliminates the individuality of everybody that joins it, and that's really what not only they miss, but what Tree and a lot of her viewers miss, because they're frustrated with the lack of receptiveness on the part of the media to them. And look, I just happen to think that the correct attitude at this moment is that you bring the evidence to the people, and if they refuse to read it, then, you know, you've done your part. And yes, that makes you a failure, but it's still your prerogative what work you put in. Okay, so those of you that have been following this channel, and those of you that follow my writing on Hard News Network, or those of you that follow my, you know, the blog that I have on Strutting Leopard, Times of Israel, I also have, you know that yes, Farrakhan feminism is very important to me, and I wouldn't be talking about it if I thought, yeah, it's just some gimmick that I'm going to give up because nobody gives a fuck about it. Okay, it's important to me because the message is, I feel, compelling, and if the people are intelligent, they will be receptive to it. And the people that are receptive to it, they could be liberal, they could be conservative, they could be non-political, they could be hangers on at the Women's March. But the point is that when you have a preacher who says that the mouth of a black woman is a snake pit, and that he believes that the shops and businesses of Koreans and Arabs should be appropriated by his community, which happens to be the black community, I think some people will find that to be so repugnant that they'll renounce the Women's March. Okay? Did I say to Tree of Logic tonight in the live stream that every single person who reads the Farrakhan feminism narrative will become convinced and on the spot renounce the Women's March? No. But, you know, I'll give her credit. She did hang on, and she did ask a number of questions, and she did get me with the Bill Maher thing. She asked, you know, when was the last time, this is what's funny. She asked, when was the last time that a white liberal called out Louis Farrakhan? But I didn't have the answer ready. Yeah, she got me on that one. You know, I can admit that she got me there. But the fact is that I have a story here. This is from 2010, that Bill Maher called Rush Limbaugh the Louis Farrakhan of white people. And you know, you can say it was a joke and you can say whatever, but he did call him out, and nothing happened to Bill Maher. He didn't get kicked off of TV. He didn't get kicked off of anything. Okay, so I was caught in the live stream, but I was still right. And Tree of Logic, if she was to see this, you know, what is she supposed to say to that? The fact is that a lot of people are not willing to address this issue precisely because of what she's saying, that they're pussies, and they don't have the courage and the balls, because those could be synonymous, to state their opinions and what they really think. So then they stop thinking. And that was Tree's point. And Tree's point is that you shouldn't try to convince these progressives to renounce the Women's March, because progressives are just unreachable. It's like they can't be reasoned with at all. Okay? And I've met people like that. And I'm not denying that there's people like that. But that's then if therefore, what I was saying to the other people that were you know, they were on her side, you know, a lot of her fans, was, okay, you know, let's say that you're correct. Then what's the point of this? Or is the point of these live streams to preach to the choir? Is the point of these chats and these call-ins to tell people, oh, I'm so glad that I know other conservative people? Because if it is, okay, that's a fun exercise for you guys. That's fine. That's not what my goal is. My goal is to expose issues that are important to me and ones that I think can be changed, and that can change for the better for not just me but for a lot of people. They can make society work more efficiently, and we can get to a freer and more respectful civil society. And yes, we're going to have to fight with people and get into bitter arguments on the way, but that's part of the whole process. That's part of the enterprise of being a person with opinions. Okay, so Tree of Logic, she has very perceptive opinions about police and crime and about family dynamics and things like that, and everything like that. But she's going to she's basically making the point that no, you can't reach these people. You can't reach these people. Cool. If you can't reach these people, then good luck. I mean, my goal is to talk to anybody that will discuss these topics with me. If they're not convinced, maybe they have a different attitude towards life, and I can live with that. Pinochet is kicking up a storm here. They're going to force us to use code words like fucking degenerates. What are some good code words? I'll start. Feminist equals broken dishwasher. Pregnant women equals occupied territory. And homosexuals equals mailboxes. That's you're in top form today. You're great. Just my stupid opinion just tuned in. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm supposed to chat with him tomorrow, and I did see. By the way, you should check out his. I think it was a podcast from yesterday. Great stuff on Canada. I think there's definitely. I think Canada is ripe for change, but that's not the topic for today. I just want to mention that when I was listening to his podcast, it did seem that he was alluding to there being a sea change happening in his country. That maybe he wasn't trying to give that impression, but that's what I was hearing. I was hearing a lot of things that are going on up there that are very interesting. So that's just my stupid opinion. He's in the chat, and you should take a glance at his channel. Lennon McCarthy is here. Lennon McCarthy, I teased the story today, and it is a fucking story. And once we get done talking about Farrakhan feminism, which you heard earlier today, or maybe you didn't, on Tree of Logic's channel, for those of you that just joined, I talked for 45 minutes. She did get frustrated, but she did let me talk about Farrakhan feminism. And basically, I'm going to finish off with let's see, it's 12:27, so let's see if I can finish Farrakhan feminism in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Basically, my frustration with that was not that she wasn't listening. I think she was listening. I think she's gotten to the point. She has an attitude that the world is fighting her, and I agree with her, and they're banning her from Twitter, and she doesn't believe that people are going to, A, she doesn't believe people will listen to her message, and B, she doesn't think that they'll let the message get out. So she thinks that this project of Farrakhan feminism that I'm doing is pointless because nobody's going to listen, and nobody's going to care that this guy, Farrakhan, he is in touch with Tamika Mallory, who is a Women's March co-chair. And basically, this woman, who is the head of the largest feminist movement in the United States, is basically idolizing a person who thinks that black women who can't cook are unfit to be mothers, and that their mouths are like snake pits. And then you get into the Arabs. He thinks that the Arabs are grafted from black people, just like the white people are. And he says that, and it's in the footage, and you can see it. And if anybody doesn't give a fuck, that's good for you. If you don't give a fuck, that's fine. I think some people will, if they find out about it. Using fake Chinese accents. If I went on in front of a audience of 600 people like he did, and made fun of Chinese people using a fake accent, you'd kick me off the fucking air. Saying that the original inhabitants of Mexico and Latin America were the black people. Yeah, that is a big deal. And I think you guys believe it. So if you believe it, please share it. If you believe it, I need your help to share the gospel of Farrakhan feminism with the people that you think will be receptive to it. I'm talking about people who are Women's March affiliated, or people who could be sympathetic to it. Bring it up. Farrakhan feminism is a real issue. If it's in person and you feel comfortable, do it that way. If you feel comfortable sending it to them in an email, do it that way. It is really something that I think it could very well bring down that movement. And then you would have actual room for a progressive movement to grow. Okay. Does that mean that I'm going to become a progressive? No. Does that mean that I believe in progressivism? Absolutely not. But what I'm trying to do here is to expose frauds where they happen to be. They could be conservative frauds. Don't you think that it's odd that Fox News has on its staff somebody like Charles Krauthammer, who this is what I'd like Tree of Logic to answer. They have Charles Krauthammer, who has said that universal health care is an inevitability in the United States of America, and he's called a real conservative, according to many Fox News, Fox News conservatives, people who watch that network, and they say, well, he's so well respected in the conservative community, he must be right. If you're using the fact that somebody is on Fox News as legitimate proof that their opinion is the correct opinion, then fuck you. Then okay, then I'm not conservative. I'm an independent. I'm not conservative. I'm just a free market person. That's the attitude I take. There's a lot of people out there who their attitude is, yes, foreign aid. We believe in foreign aid, including we should get into Syria and whatever. And they call themselves conservatives. They say the foreign aid to Israel is a good idea. I happen to be in the army. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea for the Israelis to take it. They say, oh, shut the fuck up, Bold. Shut the fuck up, Ramon. Be a piece of shit. You can be a piece of shit as long as you're our type of piece of shit. It's cool. That's the way to do it. But be our type of piece of shit. Be a piece of shit. Okay, but don't be the other type of piece of shit that doesn't agree with us. That's their attitude. And I've never taken that route. Never. I've always been the kid in school that mouthed off at the teacher. I've always been the one who was, skipping class, going to the library and reading whatever the fuck I wanted. I've always done it, and it's not going to stop now. It doesn't matter for what opinion. It doesn't matter how few viewers I get. It doesn't matter how many people tell me that the opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people troll me. It doesn't matter that I have to troll other people. I'm the Krauthammer. Lennon McCarthy. You have a Russian first name and an Irish Catholic last name, but he calls himself the Krauthammer. Oh, I see, because I mentioned Krauthammer. Yeah, Krauthammer. I'd say, his opinion on several topics is okay, but universal health care, if you look at the model, he never mentions that, his point is that it's an inevitability because of the politics. It's an inevitability because people want the health insurance system to be, the coverage issue to be resolved and done with. That's his point. The point isn't that it's efficient. The point is that it's inevitable because people are going to want it. If that's your attitude to everything, that because something is a popular idea and people want it to happen, that it should just be allowed to happen, then I don't, I'm just not going to support you. Some people used to believe in, that whole science. What was it? Scalp science. What was it? Scalp. I'll find it. Probably some phrenology. Hold on. Yeah, there were a lot of people who believed that you take like a caliper and This is if Charles Krauthammer had been a physician in the 19th century, we would have still been measuring people. But you see here it says there's aspects of the person are in different areas of the scalp. What's this one say? Caution. This is the Charles Krauthammer attitude. Yeah. We'll stop thinking of ways to solve issues. We'll just do whatever everybody wants, and that's conservatism on his. That's his attitude to it. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Lennon McCarthy, you have the correct spelling. Phrenology, that's correct. Pinochet says you should check out how Farrakhan told people that a vote for Clinton was a vote for slavery. Seems like they would be interested in this. Yeah, that's an excellent point, but they go right by that. They don't care because maybe that's to Tree's point though, because Tree was saying it doesn't matter what the fuck he does, white people will never ever criticize Farrakhan. Well, if I was the first person, I'd be fine with that. They can. She was saying, oh, they get back the fuck up because black people will step up for Farrakhan. Like I give a fuck about what anybody else says. That's if I think something is a retarded idea, then I'm still going to talk about it. I don't care what color of skin the people who are criticizing me are saying it. I don't care if it's Jews. I don't care if it's Arabs. I don't care if it's Russians. I don't care if it's fucking Samoans. I don't give a fuck. That's my attitude towards it. So yeah, Tree was trying to say that I was too emotional about it. I am emotional now. You can probably tell that I'm emotional, and I have gone over time with the Farrakhan feminism thing. But yeah, her attitude. I'm not saying that she believes in universal health care, but it's the same attitude as people like Krauthammer who say, well, it's an eventuality that we're going to get universal health care. It's not an eventuality if you're willing to go out there and make the case and debate with people and talk to people and connect with people and establish relationships with people who are not conservatives and explain to them from a rational point of view why your belief in a certain topic is valid. Okay. You don't have to be obnoxious about it. Sometimes you do have to be, but I think that her whole attitude was very fatalistic. She was saying that, oh, you can't argue with progressives. You can't talk to them. You can't communicate with them. I happen to have a very important and productive conversation with a progressive today, and you're going to be hearing about it later this week from a number of progressives. And no, I don't agree with anything that they're pushing, but I still believe in the First Amendment of this country, and I believe in establishing, that when we talk about journalism, we try to reveal things that are true, and then we comment on them from our own perspective. Okay. Just my stupid opinion says universal health care takes 6 to 9 months for a surgery if you're lucky. Yeah. So just my stupid opinion is from Canada. So that's his take on it. So, there's a lot of arguments against it. There's a lot of arguments for it. If we were to completely shut down immigration into the country, it's very and drastically curtail our defense spending. Yeah, I would agree. If we adopted all of Japan's economic and trade and immigration policies, we could implement universal health care because that's how Japan does it. Let's see if American liberals are willing to implement Japanese policies in order to get universal health care, because that's where it works the best. Fucking, Sweden is where it works the best. Sweden, where they just raise their retirement age. Yeah. Yeah, if you're like that, you might have tried to order one of those Swedish penis enlargers one time when you watched Austin Powers. You probably thought that was real. Yeah, that's what I think about Sweden. I do have some Swedish viewers, so I'm not saying that I think about Swedes that way. I'm saying I think about universal healthcare that way. Every time they bring up universal healthcare, they're like, "Oh, why don't we do it the way Sweden does it?" Because it's ruining Sweden. If you want it to work, you have to do it the way Japan did it. Next topic. Next topic. Probably at this moment a little more important than Farrakhan feminism, and that's just me being honest. Yeah, there's been a lot of movement on the Mueller probe. I know that I haven't been addressing, because I've been working hard on some other stuff, the issues of there's Trump and his lawyer and everything, and maybe if there's time this week, I'll try to give a little commentary on that. I do want to do some Venezuela content tomorrow night. I was talking with Carlos about it. I think even if people forget about it, that's really the point I'm trying to hammer home. If I think a story is important, I do want to devote time to it, and I think that when you lose sight of a story because it falls out of the headlines, that's really why a lot of these issues, they just disappear from public consciousness, and I try to kind of resist that when I can. So this is kind of I'll grant that it's a weird title, but Mueller probe over commitment may soon demand commitment to mental institutions. So I wrote this. Yeah, that's my pen name on Hard News Network, Razor Ray McCoy. So essentially, we're not going to read the whole thing because it would take too long. But the situation is like this. For those of you that live in California, or those of you that know people in California, there were a number of Bernie Sanders Facebook support groups that were active during the 2016 election. Of course, naturally, that would be the case. Most of you have used Facebook in the past. So after the election, and well, actually, no, it was prior to the election, there was a journalist named John Mattis, who I think he's a freelancer. He calls himself the I Guy, who made the allegation that some of these groups were infiltrated by some fake people from Bosnia, or no, it wasn't Bosnia, it was from Macedonia and Albania, and that those people were posting a hell of a lot of anti-Hillary content, and that he believes that these people were the ones that basically tampered with the election, and that this must be investigated. Okay, so this guy, that's not my bag, baby. Oh, because of the Austin Powers. So just checking the chat. So this guy John Mattis, who did a couple of investigative journalism stories in the 80s and 90s. One of them was on Iran-Contra, and he was involved with John Kerry's office. John Kerry, when he was a senator from Massachusetts, he was involved in his office in exposing some of the dirty dealings in Iran-Contra. It appears to have been legitimate journalism. Okay, so it looks like he did some real journalism back in the day. Then in the 90s, he did a different one on the lost army of South Vietnam, which were a number of Vietnamese operatives who infiltrated North Vietnam, and how the CIA left them high and dry and didn't pay them and let them live in prison camps for years, and eventually they were freed, and then he got some settlement money for them apparently. He was a lawyer as well. Okay, so yeah, this guy did do a number of stories that were important. Now, what's his big story? He went to CBS, or no, it was NBC News in San Diego, and he started to claim, look, I was a Bernie Sanders grassroots organizer, and then in September, once Bernie Sanders had withdrawn from the campaign, I started to notice that on the pages there was raised activity, and that there was just a lot of new people joining and trying to sway Bernie Sanders voters to not vote for Hillary Clinton. Okay, now, yeah, I think yeah, there were certainly a number of occurrences like this. Why anybody should give a fuck? That's the mystery, in my opinion. There were a lot of people, by the way, infiltrating Trump groups that were trolls as well. Is anybody getting hauled off to the slammer for that? No. And a lot of those people were working in southern Manhattan and places like that. That's really what was going on. And those people are affiliated with Correct the Record. Those people are affiliated with Media Matters for America. David Brock has openly talked about how he has a whole army of trolls whose their whole business is fighting Hillary Clinton's opponents. and he's a super PAC ghoul. That's basically what he does, and that's important for this story. Lennon McCarthy, I hope you're listening to this. I hope you read the story, and I want to hear your opinion on this. And you know, if you want to, you know, maybe next week we could have you back. I know for some reason every time I have somebody from California, their connection is really wacky. With you, there was a delay a couple of days ago. I had Nico, and that was kind of there were a lot of problems with his connection, a lot of problems, very frustrating. You know, nice guest, but California connection problems. I don't know what the hell is happening with you guys. So, you know, maybe Jerry Brown's trying to shut you people down. How about that? Maybe Jerry Brown's trying to shut us down. Yeah, that's a new hot rap, the hot rhyme down in Compton. Jerry Brown trying to shut us down. So I was in a Bernie or bust group that was officially never Hillary, and it switched to being pro-Hillary. It was really douchey. Well, if you can supply some information on that, I'd be pleased to know. This was in San Diego. Anyway, so I was in contact with some of the people who were, you know, affiliated with the group, and they can corroborate everything I'm talking about right now. Gabriel Swift, Brown is a commie. Absolutely. Moving on. So this person, John Mattis, is a journalist who is a quote unquote Bernie Sanders Facebook group administrator. And he got, sorry, I can, let me see. Yeah, I don't have to do it because I actually made the meme. So, you know, he said Bernie was infiltrated by Russia. I know this because I was an administrator. That's John Mattis's that's his viewpoint because he was an administrator of he claims to have been an administrator. Everybody else says he was an administrator in our group. What the fuck are you talking about? So he was administrator of a couple groups that were pro-Bernie in the San Diego metro area. And he says that because some trolls joined the group after the primaries and started telling people not to vote for Hillary and that Hillary was full of shit, that that means that Russia they hacked the election, even though these trolls were traced to be from Macedonia and Albania. Now, the rebuttal for my point is, well, it's well known that troll farms from Russia try to mask it by being from Macedonia and Albania. It doesn't matter. The burden of proof on you is to show that it goes back to Russia. Okay, you don't what's so funny, and I said it in the article, is that these people forget what the fuck the presumption of innocence is. And this is an attorney, the John Mattis. He's an attorney, and he doesn't realize that he has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that anybody he's accusing is guilty of whatever he's accusing them of. Never had a Facebook or Twitter account, never understood their popularity. People were pressed after the primaries. Duh. So look, what he did was he went to CBS or NBC San Diego. I don't know why I keep saying CBS, but it was NBC San Diego, and he sold the story. And he started going to Democratic clubs, and there's video of him, or actually it's a video, but only with audio and stills of him going to a San Diego Democratic club and trying to sell the proposition that those groups were infiltrated by Russian trolls. And you know, he's active in what's it called, San Diego Metro Indivisible, which is, as you know, it's an astroturfed grassroots activism resist organization that's you know, it's like the Women's March. It's basically an outgrowth of the Obama and Hillary campaigns. So this John Mattis, he went to those outlets like NBC San Diego, and he said, yeah, I have screenshots here of Russian activity and things like that. And therefore, yeah, Russia hacked the election. And he says, oh, I can prove it because I was in these Facebook groups and I was an administrator. If you go to the other people in those groups, he was never an administrator. And we're going to demonstrate that. You are going to hear from the mouth of the horse or the mouth of the Bernie bird. You know, let's get a Bernie bird up here. I know some of you missed these graphics. Bernie Sanders. You're gonna hear from the mouth of the Bernie bird the truth. You know, even though, as you probably already know, I'm no fan of Bernie Sanders, and I made that pretty apparent in the article. I think he's pretty much not only do I hate his policies, I think he's basically stabbed his supporters in the back, because he's actually playing into this whole narrative and you know, going on, continuing on this topic. This guy, John Mattis, so he went to NBC San Diego, and he sold them this story of oh, we were hacked, we were Bernie, we were, you know, everything was, you know, everything was used to sway the election. Bitch, fucking California. Not only did it go for Hillary, the polls, you know, the polls. I can actually show you from the story. I actually linked to it, because if you look at my stories, they all have polling. So California, running up to the election, the RCP average was you know, Hillary Clinton would win by 22 points. She ended up winning by 28 points. Okay, so much for that fucking theory. He's trying to sell people on the theory that people who infiltrated Bernie groups in California, because that's where all his proof comes from, Bernie Sanders groups in San Diego. Okay, and then he claims that it happened around the country, but who does he represent? The issue in San Diego. McCarthy, Jerry Brown is slowing my connection. So essentially, there's no, first of all, there's no culprit, because these people, I mean, who does he haul in front of Rachel Maddow? That's who we also went to. We went to Rachel Maddow, and you know, this was in, let me see here, March 20. This is on March 21st, 2017. And who does he haul in front of the screen? They don't say anything about these actual. Okay, you can see this is a 20-minute segment, and you know, she uses the Daily Beast. And then she starts using, basically, these are actually real people, and I've talked to them, and they're not, and you know, people can say, oh, these were Russian trolls. Okay, I was only showing it for a second because I don't want people to go and chase these people down, because I am going to have them on, and I do hope that, you know, they're not aggravated by this crap more than they already have been. But they showed on screen the names of actual real life Bernie supporters in the context of a story. Okay, they weren't explicitly saying that they were Russian trolls, but in the context of a story where they claimed that these groups were you know, infiltrated by Russian trolls. So this is kind of you know, I don't know if there's a legal penalty for this, but this is basically casting aspersions on people, you know, doxing people, and basically making it seem as if they're complicit in a crime that you know, first of all, it's not a crime, but that they're complicit in a crime that they literally had nothing to do with. And in fact, as the record will show, these people will, and they will testify. They will give credence to what I'm telling you, that this person, John Mattis, totally misrepresented what they were trying to say. These were people who were trying, a couple of them were trying to warn that there were scams going on with fake Bernie websites that were trying to raise money. And it didn't really have anything to do with Russia. It was months before the primaries were over. And, you know, it's not really what just this John Mattis was talking about. But nobody would listen to their story. Who found the story? I mean, it was me. I mean, to be honest with you, I found the story. It's possible somebody else tried. I think, you know what? There was one of these people. I'll look it up, but I can't show their name on screen. She does work, I think, for one of the progressive outlets. Let me see. The fuck, I got the weirdest solicitation just now. Yeah, I don't think I can find it at the moment. Let me see. Here we go. Anyways, before we make this a million years long instead of a million minus one, the point I'm trying to make is that yeah, there was one progressive activist that interviewed some of these Bernie group members, but it kind of went under the bridge and nobody gave a fuck because to be honest with you, nobody gives a fuck what TYT says either. So coincidentally, their platform is about as influential as mine. They kind of pretend that they're trying to change the progressive movement, but they actually don't do it because they're acting in bad faith. I just try to inform people. I'm openly not a progressive, but I inform people, and these people have been screwed. I don't care if they're progressives. I think they deserve a hearing for the public, and I hope that other progressives will tune in and start to speak out about this whole bullshit and kind of spread the message that this is a sham. Okay, so we went to NBC San Diego. And after that, he kind of sold the whole story again to Rachel Maddow, and that TYT equals Ditchwater Democrats. and then in February, what was the big story in February, and how did I find out about this? Well, it turns out that there were 3 articles in Politico that were, there are a lot of friggin' weird people that are trying to friend me. Which kind of makes me understand why people should be leaving Facebook. It is really bullshit. Here we go. So there were 3 articles in Politico that were basically in response to the Russian troll indictment. Does everybody remember the Russian troll indictment when they indicted? I mean, can anybody name 13 of there's 13 of them. Can anybody name one of them? So that was the big mother lode. That they struck gold. They convicted 13 people that are likely never going to set foot in the United States to stand trial. So Politico basically, what do they say? Let's use this in order to cast aspersions on Bernie Sanders of all people. I mean, I don't give a fuck about him, but what's the reason to go after him? They were trying to say, oh, there were people in his group that, Sanders silent on claim that Russians backed him in 2016. Well, They weren't backing him, you idiots. The whole allegation is that after he was finished, after he'd withdrawn from the race, that some people piled onto his page and tried to get people not to vote for Hillary. So how is that supporting him if he's already withdrawn from the fucking race and can't win the nomination anymore and is a lame duck in campaigning for her? How are they backing him? Explain to me the logic of that. Can anybody in the chat explain to me the? I mean, I know that I don't have that many Bernie fans here, but Pinochet, I do have the same. I do have the same T-shirt, by the way. But listen, can anybody follow that logic? Len McCarthy is a former Bernie supporter. Can you explain to me how it is that a candidate loses a primary through a rigged process, and then months later, you're going to have a bunch of random people join some Facebook groups that are affiliated with him loosely. They're not official Bernie. That's the other part. They're not actually the official Bernie campaign. They're just, ad hoc groups of people in the San Diego area and also the Bay Area, San Francisco, that they happen to be Bernie supporters. And those people, that's Russia's brilliant plan. Their brilliant plan was to back Bernie in 2016. That's the political headline. I mean, are we in crazy country yet, buddies? Think about it. So their first headline was Sanders silent on. Can you see how this isn't? People were telling me. I actually called some people. I'm not going to say which outlet. I called them and I asked them. You think that story is like legit? You think there's a big story that they're saying? Oh, it's kind of just a biased story. It's a biased story. No, this isn't a biased story. When they allege that somebody was backed, they say it's a claim that Russians backed him in 2016, and they're putting it as a headline, and it's factually untrue that in any way this activity could have caused him to succeed in the election. That's fake news. That's actually falsification of the story. That's literally going and telling people that something occurred that did not occur. That's shit journalism, and that's what we're working on right now. And people who don't think that this is a big deal, okay, so it's Politico. Well, what about Rachel Maddow splashing the names of these people across her show and doxing them? People that had nothing to do with this thing that didn't happen. This is a libel. Those people should probably at least explore. They should explore legal repercussions for what happened, because I, for one, wouldn't suffer this crap if it was done to me. And I don't care if they're progressives; they were wronged. They were wronged, and it was that's really the long and the short of it. It's wrong to drag people into the news for things that they didn't do and things that didn't happen. It doesn't matter what political opinion that they did, and it kind of just that's why they're eating their shit sandwich. That's why progressives won't vote for a lot of these they call them neoliberals, but these mainstream Democrats, because these things were done to them. These things were perpetrated and stole. Their donation money was stolen. They were bullied at the DNC. Those were things that yes, that are their opinions wrong in my view on healthcare and everything. Yes, but that doesn't mean that the Democratic Party has the right to basically treat them like retards, which is what they do. Moving on, the same reporter would write two more stories on him. So Bernie Sanders did on February 21st, he issued a piece where he did say that there was an aide to his campaign who, and they even named it as okay. It says here. Okay, I'm showing this on screen. and it is linked in my article. And this is from BernieSanders.com, press release February 21st, 2018. One of the people featured in the stories about the Russian interference is a volunteer administrator, John Mattis in San Diego. So that's how they classify him. In a February 16th, 2018 story, NBC 7 San Diego reported that Mattis claims he took whatever information he had to Hillary for America in August and the Obama administration in September of 2016. So this is actually his, I think it's Sanders' clarification of this. But why did he have to issue a clarification of something that a statement that they wanted from him? Well, it's because it wasn't good enough for them. Okay, it's never good enough. They don't want just an explanation. Once you give the explanation, they'll find something wrong with the explanation, and then they ask for an apology, and then they ask you to suck their dicks. That's the way that the media acts, and you know, this is case in point. This is you know, media, what do you call it? Media blowjob extortion 101. This is the class that we're all learning today, free of charge, on Bold Like a Leopard. So Jeff Weaver, Lennon McCarthy will probably be familiar with that name. He went and made a statement in response as well, and so did Bernie. And they stated that there was a person on the San Diego staff of the campaign who, and they made a mistake. They said that he was a staff member, John Mattis. Apparently he wasn't a staff member. And they claimed that he was the person who went to the Hillary campaign and reported it, and reported this activity. Only this was where you start to see the strange behavior on the part of John Mattis. Okay. So Weaver said the factual underpinning of that is in the indictment is what? Zero. I have not seen any evidence of support for Bernie Sanders. Okay, and he's right, because the campaign's fucking over. How can there be support for him? Kenneth Pennington, the campaign's digital director, said in an MSNBC appearance that the Mueller indictments were issued, that he knew nothing after the Mueller indictments were issued, that he knew nothing of Russian support with his campaign. And Weaver said in the interview he didn't either. Two dudes sitting in a hole somewhere support Bernie Sanders. Tell me what they did to support Bernie Sanders, Weaver added later. Sanders and Weaver's argument mirrors that of Trump, who argued in a days-long series of tweets that the Russians were not supporting him. The president has blamed his nemesis, Barack Obama, for not doing enough to stop Russian disruption in the campaign. So, you know, this is where they actually realize that now Bernie Sanders and Trump's people have made the same question. They posed the same question. John Mattis went in September, according to his account, September of 2016. He went to, he claimed the Hillary campaign. And it's interesting to note who he thinks the Hillary campaign is soon. Okay, that's the next kernel of this. Okay, I know this is real juicy. It's a real juicy corn kernel here. Corn kernel out of a turd, but it's still a kernel. So they're both saying, well, you reported in September. You say you reported it to the Hillary campaign. You said you reported it to the Obama administration. So I mean, why didn't they do anything? They could have. I mean, could they have not stopped what was going on? So Sanders has faced questions since Friday about why he was not more strongly condemned the Russian actions that benefited his campaign, but they didn't benefit his campaign. On Wednesday, liberal writer Joan Walsh of The Nation, I know Lennon McCarthy has a real soft spot in his heart for Joan Walsh of The Nation, tweeted in response to Sanders' comments about Clinton, seriously, this could be the end of Sanders 2020. What do you mean? That we're talking about something that happened after Sanders 2016. What does this have to do with Sanders 2020? So he's blaming Sanders for something that happened after Sanders 2016, for something that, you know, I mean, Sanders hasn't officially announced anyway, so who cares? Someone who cares about him ought to tell him how badly he stepped in it today. No, Joan Walsh, is full of shit. He's basically, the cunt queen of today. Bernie beta cock blocked. That's Lennon McCarthy now. Russians did more for Bernie than the Democrats. The Democrats did more for Gabriel Swift. LOL. Obama is a Muslim. I've seen Gabriel Swift on here before. Has Bernie ever had a real job? Bernie doesn't want to be suicided. Okay. Hope you guys are getting along in there. I know that I'm kind of going long-windedly, but this is an important story, and it's going to keep getting more important because it's that what you're listening to right now. You should share because it actually exposes a full lie and beyond a lie, actually lying about real people in real life by Rachel Maddow and MSNBC, right? Just like Farrakhan feminism, which I can't shut up about. It will prove to expose MSNBC and Al Sharpton, right? So I hope something's going to come of this because if it doesn't, then Tree of Logic will be 100% right instead of 25% right, which is what I think she was today. But that's just because I'm being a dick. Yeah, people thought, oh, you're being passive aggressive. That was the other thing they said on the chat. You got beat, so you became passive aggressive. How was I being passive aggressive? Yeah. Okay, so I'm being passive aggressive right now because I'm saying that she was 25% right. Yeah, I think that it's possible people won't listen to me. But again, I'm mixing two different drinks right now. So Farrakhan feminism in the rearview mirror. Back to Bernie Bros. So in the interview, Sanders repeatedly said that the attention should be on Trump's denials of Russian activity, an assertion he's made repeatedly since Friday's indictment. But in doing so, he floated his own conspiracy. You have a president of the United States not saying that Russians meddled in the election. What exactly is going on? And you have speculation. Do the Russians really own him? Sanders said. When pressed by the host if he believed that the Russians do have something compromising on the president, Sanders said, I don't know, but something is very weird. So yeah, I mean, I think he, if Sanders were an honest person, or if he was, if he really, it's either he's not honest or he doesn't feel at liberty to tell the truth. In which case, you have a senator who's basically owned with a P by somebody else, by the Democrats. Then then that really says something about the progressive movement because they still look up to him. Because if he is saying something and first of all, he can't substantiate it. And I know that he believes that this whole story they're talking about, the Russians backed his campaign is bullshit. Then, basically Bernie is useless. I've been saying that he's useless. I've been saying that there's other people. By the way, Dennis Kucinich, I don't support him. I wouldn't vote for him. He would be a fantastic leader for the progressive movement. He'd be a fantastic leader. He's not, I'd say that even though his policies I think are crap, I think he's a genius of a politician, and he's never been. I haven't seen any corruption on his part. I could be wrong. Dennis Kucinich, why won't progressives get behind him? And he's a Democrat, so why would they not get behind him? And he's told his honest opinion about what's going on with Russia. Okay, he's not buying the crap by the by the mainstream media. So that's my 2 cents on that. So then on February 24th, this was now this is the same reporter. It's Edward Isaac DeVary. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's from Politico. He shares a story that says, based on the last story, Bernie Sanders promoted false story on reporting Russian trolls. And he says Bernie Sanders is taking credit for action to combat the Russian incursion into the 2016 election they didn't have anything to do with and didn't actually happen. Twice this week in response to questions about whether he benefited from the Russian effort, as prosecutors allege, or did enough to stop it. Sanders said a staffer passed information to Hillary Clinton's aides about a suspected Russian troll operation. It turns out that the purported Sanders staffer who said he tried to sound the alarm was a campaign volunteer who acted on his own without any contact or direction from the Vermont senator or his staff. When the volunteer, John Mattis of San Diego, said he communicated with the Clinton campaign in local press accounts, he was confusing it for a super PAC supportive of Clinton. He also doesn't know why Sanders is taking all the credit. I'm going to send him a bill for my back pay, Mattis joked. So you know, maybe he's making kind of maybe he's just making a jibe, but he says his next remark is he could have called me, Mattis added. Maybe he doesn't have my phone number. Mattis claims the made in 2 phone interviews with Politico came after Sanders and staffers offered numerous and conflicting answers in the span of a few hours on Wednesday about what he did about Russian meddling. Sanders and his top aides were at turns defiant and defensive during and after his interviews with the Vermont radio station, even initially disputing special counsel Robert Mueller's finding in his indictment last week that the Russians backed his campaign. Well, that's because they didn't back his campaign. This was after the campaign. You can't support a campaign after it's over. You know, if that were the case, you know, I'm declaring my support right now for you know, Lyndon LaRouche 1996 for president. Okay, because you know, I guess he was independent, right? Lyndon LaRouche. Those of you that don't know, I think it was like some sort of cult member back in the day, or cult leader. You know, some people used to call him a fascist or something. So yeah, that means I can support his campaign, Lyndon LaRouche 1996. That's basically the logic that they're using right now. His former campaign manager and confidant, Jeff Weaver, said in an interview the senator did not verify what he'd read. He does not know. All he knows is what was reported, Weaver said on Wednesday. So basically Sanders perhaps was working using you know, fake news sources that were either supplied to him or they didn't read properly. So, you know, unfortunately, he should have, you know, maybe the one criticism I could say about Bernie Sanders here, and you all know that I criticize him about his beliefs. I criticize him about the fact that he's an asshole, and that I think that he's basically, you know, as a Jewish person, I don't think he represents me the way I would hope. But that's a very minor issue between me and him compared to all the other stuff. But in this case, the only thing I can criticize in this instance is that Bernie Sanders he didn't actually like go in depth and make the right number of phone calls and figure out exactly what did happen. And so they did trap him, and you know, he ate a lot of shit for it, and you know, that's a problem. And if he were ever to run for president again, the Democrats, if they get away with this, they would use this as ammunition against him. They would say that he lied about it. I don't think he lied. I think he was misinformed, and that he didn't go the extra mile and figure out what happened exactly with this John Mattis. And if he did, it would have been, you know, he would have really helped his supporters a lot. And they do need, I mean, those people kind of need help right now, because they're being put through the wood chipper in terms of the DNC and in terms of what's going on in the Democratic Party. So listen to this. We're gonna read through this. Okay, this is all in my article, but I'm reading directly from Politico, so you don't think that I'm making crap up. And the Politico links are they're in the article itself. Asked why the senator relayed the Mattis story without checking it, Jones responded, "It sounded as if you're suggesting that we should no longer trust the reporting of outlets like NBC, and that the information they provide requires independent verification." She said. So this was Ariana Jones, who's Sanders' spokeswoman, and she made a great point, and she was basically, this was her fuck you to them. Well, you guys reported it like that. Does that mean that we have to check your stories for factuality? She said that Sanders had referred to Mattis as being on his campaign. Now this part is kind of, it does sound a little like bullshit, but you know, I don't know. I think it sounds like bullshit. But she said that Sanders had referred to Mattis as being on his campaign because Bernie considers the tens of thousands of people who volunteered during 2016 a part of his campaign. Doesn't that sound like all special? She eventually acknowledged that Sanders misspoke in calling Mattis a member of his staff, but reasoned there were more than 1,000 staff members over the course of the campaign. Mattis, who is 67, describes himself as, so listen to this. He says, a part-time researcher, part-time lawyer, and part-time consumer advocate. He said he figured out what the Kremlin was up to by tracking and digging into suspicious Facebook accounts he'd noticed commenting on pro-Sanders pages once the primary ended. So this is the meaty part, and I did highlight it yesterday. Mattis acknowledged, though, that he didn't come to suspect Russia was involved until weeks after the Clinton campaign publicly raised concerns about Russian hacking. He said he never talked to anyone on the Clinton campaign itself, though he believed the researcher he spoke with at the pro-Clinton American Bridge PAC, run by David Brock, was tantamount to reaching the campaign. David Brock was all I knew of the campaign, Mattis said. No one at American Bridge said, call up Hillary, call up John Podesta or anybody. If they weren't sharing it with Hillary, that is their responsibility. Do you guys realize, let's go to the chat. Do you realize what's problematic with that statement? Welcome, Lisa PDX. I know I didn't see you yet. Are you guys paying attention? What's problematic with the statement on the part of somebody who considers himself a part-time investigator, a part-time consumer advocate, and part-time lawyer, when he says that he believed that 21st century America, or I think it's American Bridge 21st Century PAC, he believes that that was part of the Hillary Clinton campaign, and he knew that it was run by David Brock. What do you think? I mean, there's several things you could say are problematic, but oh, bye, Lisa. Have a good night. What's the problem there? If you're a lawyer, why does that sound a little suspicious? Anybody, and especially if you claim to have been involved in any way as a grassroots supporter or whatever with the campaign. So think Super PAC campaign. If you think, Pinochet says, well, David Brock is a patriot and a stand-up fellow from what I've heard. Yeah, stands up on a bunch of dicks. That's what I heard. The problem with this is that officially, according to campaign rules, FEC regulations, Federal Electoral Commission, it is actually a violation of federal law, and I think you can be imprisoned for it, for a super PAC and a campaign to interact between each other. That's why they're a super PAC, because you donate to the super PAC in order to evade campaign finance laws. And that was Citizens United, and David Brock knows about that because he's the super PAC guy. So by saying this, John Mattis is essentially saying, well, I was under the impression that David Brock's super PAC was in touch with the Hillary Clinton campaign and would communicate this to them. I mean, don't you think that they should do it? So it either means that he's too ignorant of campaign finance laws to really understand what the problem of that would be, or that he was in touch with Brock and was aware that he was violating campaign finance laws. So the real investigation here should, if there were to be an investigation, okay, guys, note this, spread this story, spread the story, spread the story, spread the story, spread the story. It is the 4th link in the description. Spread the story. We're talking about a real fucking scandal if this gets out, that Bernie Sanders supporter who fed information to David Brock was under the impression that David Brock, who was a super PAC administrator, he was using his researchers and communicating with the Hillary Clinton campaign. That would be a federal crime, and they would all go to jail for it. Brock, this guy possibly, if it came to light that he was working for David Brock, it would be a real fucking problem for him. That's the question that I'm having right now. That's the question a lot of people are having right now, by the way. Those of you that think that this is only me talking about it, you're about to get by the end of the week, you should probably see that there's more than a few people talking about this. But unfortunately, we need people to tune into this channel to get attention to it, and that's why you need to share everything that I'm talking about, and share the streams, and talk about it yourself, or else the story just isn't going to matter. David Brock was all I knew of the campaign, Mattis said. No one at American Bridge said, call up Hillary, call up John Podesta, or anybody. If they weren't sharing it with Hillary, that is their responsibility. No, it is your responsibility. You know that super PACs are not supposed to communicate with campaigns. Mattis is adamant that anyone who claims that American Bridge was not tantamount to the Clinton campaign is being naive, though campaign finance laws prohibit interaction between entities such as those. So basically Politico is bearing out in the next sentence. You know, this sentence was labeled and highlighted in yellow for piss, and this one's going to be highlighted in orange, which is the closest color to brown, which is for shit. Mattis shared with Politico email exchanges he had with an American Bridge researcher whom Federal Election Commission records show was on staff through the end of 2016. In one of them, the researcher responded, quote, "This is amazing," to a link Mattis sent from a site he claimed was Macedonian. It appeared to be a news article about Clinton receiving debate questions in advance, which later turned out to be true. So let's establish something there. If people are sharing information that's true, that's not tampering with a campaign. The researcher whose name Mattis shared, under condition it not be published, did not respond to attempts by email or Facebook to verify Mattis' claims of contact or information. So, you know, Mattis is the one who's full of shit, but they're still respecting his request that these people not be revealed. It says a spokesperson for American Bridge declined to comment. Mattis, who said he's a lawyer who's been involved lately in class action suits against a major car rental company and Delta Airlines, worked as a researcher for the Senate and afterward for several news organizations. His involvement with the presidential campaign started with a Skype conversation with Sanders in the spring of 2015, conducted from a local fast food restaurant, along with several other volunteers. The conversation before the campaign was announced was the only time Mattis said he's spoken with the senator. So it's going to be interesting to hear from the other people involved in those Facebook groups. You know, let's hear what they have to say. That's a good question. Well, what did he tell them about his involvement with the campaign? His interest was sparked by seeing a flurry of accounts joining Bernie Sanders' pages on Facebook after the primaries were over. That seemed unusual, as did their names. No profile on Facebook, no history on Facebook, and to me, what was striking is that to me, these people were emerging out of the ground, and all they wanted to do was join Bernie Sanders groups. Digging more, he said he found that multiple accounts were using the same names and posting articles he found wildly over the top, bashing Clinton. He noticed strange typos in them too. In the second week of September, I felt comfortable enough with what I was seeing to share it, not just with my friends, Mattis said. He said he also shared his findings with someone on Barack Obama's national security staff, okay, just before the election. So that lends credence to Bernie Sanders' point that he said, well, he says he informed the national security staff of Barack Obama, and they didn't do anything with it. So how credible was information really if nothing was done about it by the Obama administration? This person in blunt terms said, John, we are seeing Putin's fingertips and Putin is paying for all of it, Mattis said. As to who this person was, Mattis would only say that it was a high-level person. So yeah, this is fucking bullshit, and it's basically Edward Isaac Doveri. You know, he's going to have to. You know, I hope if and when this story reaches you know, public attention, Edward Isaac Dovere will have to reveal, first of all, who that person from American Bridge was. Second of all, how many times he spoke to John Mattis, and if he actually researched Mattis's activities in the Facebook group. Because if you look at the Facebook group itself, and it's still open, and you can still get information about it, and we're going to explore that when I talk about this next time. This person, John Mattis, is lying about a lot of things. First of all, he's lying about his role in the group. He said that he was an administrator. If he was an administrator and there were so many people trying to join the group, he had the authority as an administrator, first of all, to change the group's settings. He could have made it a closed group. I think it's called either a closed or a secret group. and then he would be able to filter the people coming in, and he could actually eject people from the group. He didn't have to put posts saying, well, some of these people are fake. He could have, as an administrator, he could have kicked these people out. Okay, because I administer a Facebook group. It's not that hard, guys. It's not that Facebook is retarded. I mean, even an idiot can manage a Facebook group. 2 tiers indeed. Gabriel Swift says, "Sir, haven't you noticed America has 2 tiers when it comes to justice?" Well, it's 2 tiers, but there's always, yeah. I'm not saying that Hillary. So Gabriel Swift makes a great point, but the idea is not. I'm not saying that this is going to bring down Hillary Clinton. I'm saying it would bring down a lot of the people involved in the post. It would probably cause a number of legal actions against MSNBC, for example. Again, and that's because of the faulty reporting. They would have to explain to these people, and this is why, if you guys know who Tim Pool is, I want you to expose this story to Tim Pool. Send the article to Tim Pool. Tell him I'm available. And he doesn't have to go on video yet. He can wait till people start talking about it, and then he can make a judgment. And that's somebody I trust as a journalist with integrity to make the judgment of what's a proper story. Somebody like Tim Pool. There's other people I've been contacting about this. What would happen is it would be a massive black eye for MSNBC. It would be a black eye for Politico. Some of these people would have to really answer for what they've written. And, I don't know about apologizing to Bernie Sanders. That could be in order too, but they would have to apologize for Gabriel Swift. I was called a Russian troll. Obama DNC never thought they would lose the election, so they committed many, many crimes to win, thinking they could cover them up once in power. So, look, I do want to move on and comment a little about what happened with the Facebook hearing today. But I want you guys to bear this in mind. There was a journalist who hoodwinked 4 media outlets. There was Times of San Diego, which is more of a local Metro San Diego outlet. You guys in California, I mean, Lennon McCarthy, I want you guys to share it with people in California. Share it with people in California. This is the whole point. You get the people who are close to you to pay attention. It starts to become a story. It may not be a story yet, but it becomes a story if you make it a story. It becomes a story if you can make the argument. And I know that some of you are jaded. I had the feeling that Tree of Logic was jaded today, and that's perhaps why I wasn't able to make the points that I wanted to make to her. And I take responsibility for that too. But if you're too jaded to think that your belief system is worthy to defend, then there's no point in trying to do anything. You're basically, then you're really just a troll. There's nothing wrong with being a troll, but there's something wrong with being only a troll. That's my philosophy. Yeah, Gabriel Swift, I believe you're more than a Russian troll. I believe you can share this article. So, Edward Isaac Doveri, he's going to have a lot to answer for if we can get this story out. This story has to be distributed. Whoever you think would care about what happened in 2016, if you were involved in a campaign, if you were, involved in the Jill Stein campaign, for instance, because he did talk smack, John Mattis, about the Jill Stein campaign as well. He said, "Oh, that's going to get Trump elected." Yeah, it's a nice theory, buddy. You lived in fucking California. There's nothing you could have done in California to make Clinton win more. It's like that. What is it? Over. I'm talking in memes again. But he can't pull over any farther. She can't win California anymore, retard. You can't. This is what's so ridiculous about the story. He claimed that something that happened in San Diego swung the election. San Diego went for Clinton. The rest of California, the only parts of California Trump won were like Inland Empire and you know, the northern Redwood areas, parts like that. Yeah, Pinochet, I just made it clear. You know, I'm not against trolling. I'm saying that you know, if you're only trolling, you're kind of, you know, you're kind of it's like people who sit down to you know, they go to a restaurant to eat the free bread. Okay, yeah, you're trolling, but you know what else are you accomplishing? You're just eating bread. So look, I think there were a couple more things I wanted to say about that story, but I've really run it into the ground, and I'm talking too much about it. And there's more to come later. And I promise you, if you share this story, you bring more people to the stream when people will be talking about this from their own mouths. If you bring more people to this, this will become a major issue. And at that point, you know, it's not going to be a leopard issue. It's going to be an issue for some people that maybe you think are better or are journalists. You know, I don't know if I qualify as a journalist. Tim Pool, I think, is a great journalist. You know, other people, you know, I'm not going to name drop. There's other people out there that can help with this. Okay, it's up to you to bring it to them. It's up to us to make this a major issue, and then after that, you know, the benefit of this is knowing that we did something to expose a problem that had to be addressed, and that's it. It's not an altruist statement. It's a statement of what we're doing and why we're on why we're on YouTube at all, why we're trying to work, why we're trying to convince people, why we're trying to get people to change their minds. You know, this Facebook issue, going to on about the testimony today. You know, it's really weird realizing how many people we have in Congress who really and this is just the Senate, because tomorrow I believe that they're supposed to be doing testimony in the House by Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. They're supposed to do more testimony in the House with regards to Facebook's role in the Cambridge Analytica scandal and various other issues, you know, privacy and data mining and you know, issues like that, you know, issues that are very relevant. So what I saw today from Zuckerberg was a person who he was built up. You know, everybody makes fun of, you know, Sticks Hexenhammer, brilliant commentator. Everybody here probably already is a fan of him, so I'm not name dropping here. I listen to him even when I disagree with him. I think he's smart. And by the way, his videos on the haunted houses, amazing work. Truly, like, you know, I can't, you know, I'm basically brown nosing to him right now, but you know, this is somebody who is, you know, a titan of this era, and I hope he, you know, he talks a lot about what he wants to do with his platform. That, you know, I hope he can hold true to it, because he has something special going, and you know, I recognize it, and I don't know if you guys do, but this is somebody who knows how to basically go along and state his case regardless of what other people's opinions are. So what he's been saying is that, you know, I think he calls Zuckerberg a level 3 or level 2 synth, which I think is I think it's from Alien, you know, those androids that are, you know, the ones that are able to survive the xenomorphs. Do you guys like Alien? I love Alien. It's my favorite horror movie. It's, I mean, favorite in that, you know, it drives me nuts. You know, why can't they fucking kill the thing? So the synths are the ones that are able to withstand the xenomorphs. I mean, that's the whole point. So, you know, they're so realistic until you get to the point where you say something and it's obvious this person doesn't, he couldn't actually have a relationship with a human being if his fucking life depended on it. That's the way Mark Zuckerberg appears to many people in the you know, in the shit posting world, which is more important than ever nowadays. I mean, you know it. And today they came out in full force. Just my stupid. Oh, you're still in here. Thanks for sticking around, because I hope that you'll ask some questions about what I'm talking about tomorrow. Although I think you had a different topic for tomorrow, so you know, I'll try not to just hog the attention, because I think another one of the guests is supposed to pop on, so I'll try to be the best guest that I can be. When I'm a guest, I try to be a good guest. So yeah, Sticks Hexenhammer was posting all these fucking memes that were just, and I might have to just share my Twitter. All the fuck is going on here? So so you have some black guy, another guy, also great, but I think Sticks is a little more influential in the field of politics. Derek Blackman's also pretty great. He says, can't wait for Zuckerberg to morph into the Antichrist and devour Congress. Then, yeah, this was me. Yeah, this was Gab. This is his image. He's taking that, like, he takes a drink of water and then he stares at the drink of water like, do people really believe I'm thirsty? Am I making it convincing? Where was the Sticks Hexenhammer? There you are, Lennon McCarthy. How's that going? So Gab, I thought was Sticks Hexenhammer. He had a different one today that was amazing. So it says, which I am exhibiting the mammalian startle reflex that we humans so frequently experience at such relatable activities as parades and street festivals. Do not be startled at the second face extending from my chest, however. Like all humans, I have only a single head. The additional face belongs to a smaller human that I have tethered to my body for ordinary human purposes. So, there were a lot of great. I'll find it in a second. Where was this? I shared something by him, and it was amazing. Sticks Hexenhammer. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is the shit. This is when, this is a statement that is great. Crazy miscreant authoritarian Zuckerberg at Facebook looks like a synthetic plastic skinned fish out of water, trying to explain his company's abusive moronic policies to a room of 70 and 80-year-olds. And that's exactly that. There's no truer statement. There was Patrick Leahy from Vermont, who looks like somebody already dug him up out of the grave, was there today. Dianne Feinstein, who looks like the Tales from the Crypt mascot. If you add a little more hair and shake a bit of the dust off, that's Dianne Feinstein, who will probably be reelected this year. Sorry, Lennon McCarthy. Dianne Feinstein, old as fuck. Orrin Hatch, old as fuck. Retiring though, and he's actually not as bad as I used to think he was, but he's not great. That's my stupid opinion. Lennon McCarthy. No, you don't know who some black guy is. He's great. He's got some great he's got some great music too. Some black guy is his channel name, SBG. I've actually interacted with him, for over 2 years, and I've been on his live streams. He has Patreon streams. I'm a Patreon member of his. Yeah, he's a great guy. Not exactly. The DNC stuff, all that stuff isn't really his forte. He's more like talking about shit posting and stuff like that. But yeah, he had some great observations today too. And I think this is about it. So look, we'll go through Ted Cruz's grilling of Zuckerberg. He says, Senator Ted Cruz. So this is from Fox News, but whatever. You know, I'm not a fan of Fox News either. Fucking Charles Krauthammer. I'm a conservative. Yeah, sure. If you're a conservative, then forget conservative. Told Zuckerberg that a great many Americans are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. Cruz then ticked off a list of conservative content that he claimed had been suppressed by Facebook, including stories about 2012 GOP presidential candidate Mitt Romney and stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal. Actually, I shouldn't mock that. The IRS scandal was some serious shit. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers. By the way, yeah, they had a great thing going, Diamond and Silk, and I'm sure, you know, if they think that by shutting down their Facebook page they're going to stop that, you know, this is the Streisand effect. Those two were fantastic on Facebook because, you know, they were just goofy people. People take the whole issue of them being black as being the main draw. There's a lot of black conservative people who share media content, but none of them are goofy and you know, just have chemistry like Diamond and Silk. That was the whole fucking point. They're goofy people. Okay, you don't even have to agree with what they're saying. They're just they have just bubbly personalities, and then they actually, one of them doesn't really talk that much. You know, it's a gimmick. It's entertainment, you morons. Don't you understand that when you take away somebody's show, those of you that are science fiction fans, I remember there was a campaign to restore Firefly. I didn't understand it, but people, when you take away somebody's show, it's like it's like you staple their dick to the table. You think they're going to leave their dick behind? What are you, retarded? What are you, fucking out of your mind? You think they're going to stop following Diamond and Silk? For some of you, that metaphor might be unrelatable. You know, to a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment? Cruz asked. In response, now it's understandable that Cruz would say that because he talks like a lawyer, because he was a lawyer, and he's still kind of a shifty bastard, but he's smart as fuck, and I'm not going to take that from him, even though, you know, I think Cruz was kind of a failure, and you know, I kind of turned my back on his whole gimmick of, oh, I'm going to be the respectable conservative during the race. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. It's Rand Paul, baby. Cruz then asked if Zuckerberg knew whether Facebook had removed content from Planned Parenthood, MoveOn.org, or any. By the way, any of you, yeah, Syria, still not on fucking board. So anybody who's asking, no, not on board. Or any Democratic candidate for office. To each question, Zuckerberg responded that he was not aware of any such content. So let me reread that because I kind of interjected. Cruz then asked if Zuckerberg knew whether Facebook had removed content from Planned Parenthood, MoveOn.org, or any Democratic candidate for office. For each question, Zuckerberg responded that he was not aware of any such content. Zuckerberg also denied that he knew the political affiliations of his employees or made personnel decisions based on politics. I'm very committed to making sure that Facebook is a platform for all ideas, Zuckerberg told Cruz. We're proud of the discourse and the different ideas that people can share on the service, and that is something that, as long as I'm running the company, I'm going to be committed to making sure is the case. Zuckerberg testified before a joint hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Judiciary and Commerce Committees amid, and Commerce is the important one, committees amid an ongoing controversy over the gathering of user data by Cambridge Analytica, a firm affiliated with Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. So this testimony, you know, this is why Fox News is dog shit, because the importance of Cruz's line of questioning went completely over their heads, and you know, I'm sure that some of the other people who are they actually have brains, you know, like for instance, some of the people I've mentioned already, not to name drop again, but you know, like let's say Paul Joseph Watson or Mark Dice, fantastic guy. Mark Dice actually shared the testimony. I have Mark Dice's book and I read it. Yeah, it's up there somewhere. But in any case, yeah, the issue here is not that it's conservative filtering. Okay, the issue is that Zuckerberg denies that he knew the political affiliations of his employees or made personnel decisions based on politics. And that he's committed to making sure that Facebook is a platform for all ideas. We're proud of the discourse and the different ideas that people can share on the service, and that is something that as long as I'm running the company, I'm going to be committed to making sure this is the case. Now, what Fox is leaving out of the article is that there were other things that Cruz said that he trapped Zuckerberg on. And the fact is that Zuckerberg was talking about making Facebook a platform for all ideas when Cruz was asking him, and when Leahy was asking him, and when Feinstein was asking him, and when the other guy Blumenthal was asking him, he was saying, no, I'm committed to making the platform safe. I'm committed to making the platform safe, and that's why I'm going to ban content. So no, you can't have it both ways. You can't have a safe platform and a platform for all ideas. That's where the contradiction is. That's where and this is Fox News. This is an example of their dog shit reporting. Okay, if Politico is fake news, Fox News is miss the point news. I saw, yeah, that is a good comment. Just my stupid opinion. I saw some black guy today, then I saw another black guy. Yeah, but you haven't seen this one, what I'm talking about. Pinochet, Mark Dice is in my top 10 trolls list. So understand what the real importance is here, and don't get your news from Fox News. Get your news from people like Mark Dice. You know, great guy. And I'm just saying it because I think that he makes great observations. Okay. You know, I haven't read all of his books. I'm not going to say that everything he says is 100% true, and I never do that. You know, just with the same with Molyneux. But you have to get to the root of the matter. The point isn't that Facebook is just screening conservative points of view. That's kind of, again, just like Tree of Logic was looking at the forest and not looking at the trees, you know, the individual issues. In this case, Fox News is only looking at the trees and not looking at the forest. Okay, because they're trying to say, well, you know, we can't have a voice here, so what the fuck is the point of even using Facebook? No, the issue that Cruz was putting forward, and he did it brilliantly, was that you can't have a forum that is free and open to all opinions and then guarantee that it's safe. If it is free and open to all opinions, then yes, then even Russian trolls and even Albanian, you know, sock accounts and stuff like that, they also have the. I mean, first of all, there's no way to. How is Facebook supposed to determine who's a sock account and who isn't? You know, he's talking about privacy. What is he supposed to do? You know, take a hand outside the screen and have it give the user a colonoscopy and determine if you know they have a colon so that they can use Facebook. Is that how you determine that there's no way? Okay, so you can determine if they're sock accounts. How far are you willing to go? It's well known that there's troll accounts and sock accounts and bot accounts that are way more developed than the ones that were alleged to have tipped the 2016 election. There's stuff that's much more brilliant than that. So Zuckerberg's assertion that all opinions are welcome on Facebook is factually contradicting what he was saying about safety and about making sure that there's no manipulation and that there's no hate speech on Facebook. That also came up, by the way. People were asking, I think it was Mazie Hirano, who from Hawaii, or one of the other female senators. I have to, you know, I don't want to go back and look. It was long as fuck, guys. Did you watch it? Anybody watch that testimony? I saw it on the Canadian Broadcasting Channel, GEMSO, and on the Facebook window, it said, you know, at the bottom of the screen, the same way they do for RT, they say, well, RT is affiliated with the Russian government. Well, this one said CBC is affiliated with the Canadian government. I'm like, no shit, moron. I need YouTube to tell me that. So they're trying to tell you who to watch. They're trying to tell you. I'm wondering. I mean, if you're watching PBS in Canada, does Facebook put a little flag at the bottom or two lines and say that you're watching a page that's affiliated with the government of the United States of America, one that spies on all of its citizens and YouTube? So does it do that too? Is that the new policy, guys? Jim, so actually, I'm asking seriously. Could you test that for me? You're Canadian. Go to a PBS. Okay, I'll put a link in the chat, and I want you to go there. This is experiment day. This is I guess I mean we can't change people's opinions, Tree of Logic. So I guess we'll just have to fuck around with YouTube, right? Because we're just a bunch of retards, and nobody's gonna believe us. So go to PBS NewsHour, and this is for Arjun and Jimso and everybody who's not an American citizen and isn't sitting in America right now. Take this link. Oh, it does do it. PBS is a publicly funded American broadcaster. It said, look at this. It says that for me, and I live in the United States of America. They have to warn me that the public broadcasting system is a publicly funded. Somebody should rip this clip and put it here. The YouTube is basically saying that I'm a retard because I, as an American, don't know that the public broadcasting system is publicly funded by the United States of America. That's how little confidence they have in the public broadcasting system, which is funded by viewers like you, besides Jimso, who's Canadian, and Lennon McCarthy, I think, probably pays a bigger portion than me. So because Jerry Brown probably found a way to screw him harder than I'm getting screwed by asshole John Kasich. I know I'm going long, guys, but this has been a fun night for Ramon. This has been a fun night for me, and it's going to keep getting more fun for you guys because I have all the motivation I need to keep this going. I heard yesterday that Jim Lehrer is a raging. I'm not going to say that out loud, but that's kind of funny. But his show I thought was pretty good. I mean, the Chubb Group, is that the name of the show? So listen, that's about it. Yeah, the tech companies don't trust you. They think you're a bunch of idiots. Even though they can watch this, and just my stupid opinion says it doesn't come up for me. So they have to warn Americans. I think that's the whole point. That in America, we now have Facebook agreed to tell Americans that when a network is affiliated with the government, so they have to do it for the BBC. They have to do it for I don't know, whatever the network is, and I don't know if Mexico has a public broadcaster. It's probably better than ours. I like Mexican TV, by the way. Those of you that think that we're like racist here in America, no, Mexican TV is great because the women there are they're chosen for aesthetic purposes. I'm sure some person found it very hard to believe today that Tamika Mallory, one of the reasons she's the spokeswoman for the black women in the Women's March, is partially because she's attractive, as opposed to the Black Lives Matter people who, what was that woman's name? Patricia Cullors or something, who was overweight, and Tree of Logic claimed that she was a lesbian or whatever. And she was saying, those three women were icons of the movement. Icons for who? Nobody remembers those people. Nobody remembers them at all. And they had no power. The movement wasn't even centrally controlled. The Black Lives Matter movement, see, there's a certain point where I think if the more I develop the argument, the more resistance I get. That's why, eventually I did say, Tree, you can keep going. I think I'm done. Sorry. I can't convince you that it's your right not to agree, and I thank you for the opportunity. I was thinking of Jim Leahy from Trailer Park Boys. So yeah, there's a law in the United States that I don't know if it's a law, but Facebook, or no, it was YouTube, agreed that any public broadcaster would fuck you, Pinochet, with the good night sweet prince thing. That's that's annoying, man. So yeah, there's a law that if you're a public broadcaster of any country, let's say, France 2 television, if for whatever reason you want to watch French government television, the YouTube has, if you're in the United States, let's see, I'll find it now. Yeah, it says here, Radio France is a publicly funded French broadcaster. What do you think? I'm blind or something? It's in French. The fucking description is in French. The chat is disabled because they have no balls, and they probably get, trolled the fuck out because they're France and they can't, they have no spine anyway. So of course I know it's government funded. So yeah, that's it. Everybody have a great night. And keep spreading my shit. Spread that manure over the field, guys. Because yeah, the story is heating up. The story with the Bernie people. Yeah, Ewan and McCarthy, I'm looking at you. If you know people who would find it of interest, bring them to the live stream. Pinochet, I know you don't have any Bernie pro friends. You got other people. Jimso, if you have liberal friends in the United States or Canada who are interested in this, yeah, I mean, this stream or whatever stream, if you have people who know, and you can tell them when the whole crap starts. I think it's after 45 minutes, I start talking about the Bernie story. Just let them know that this is the way we really get to the real stories that are there to talk about. So yeah, I've gone on too long. Have a great night, and we'll be in touch. Tomorrow, I think 12 Eastern time. Just my stupid opinion. Tomorrow night, possibly a Testigo Venezuela story. So if anybody's interested in that, I'm going to talk a little about cryptocurrencies and the Petro and PDVSA and all the effects going on there. The Petro has a little problem on its hand. It's called a competitor. So imagine that. They thought, we'll invent something, and people will have no alternative. Because people can't come up with a competitor. Yeah, that's the great Bolivarian revolution for you. Have a great night. Yeah, just my stupid opinion tomorrow at 12. It's going to be his show.